What's up everyone, it's Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and today's video will be my upgrade guide for the Murders at Karlov Manor Blame Game Commander Precon. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to ask for your help in supporting my channel, which can be done in the following ways. Subscribing to the channel, sharing any of my content on your socials, watching some of my many other videos, purchasing super thanks, purchasing channel memberships, purchasing decks that you may have seen on this channel directly from me on the Blue Bears Games Facebook page, and/or visiting our sponsor at arcane-fortress.com and using discount code BlueBear at checkout if you decide to purchase any of their amazing gaming supplies from them. Anything that you do will help support my channel immensely, and I thank you for it. Now that that is out of the way, let's get to today's video. For this guide, I'll start by showing you the cards that I would recommend removing first, and then I'll show you the cards that I would add back in that I believe will help make this deck either more fun to play a little better, or best case scenario, both. What I'm about to tell you is just my own honest personal opinion, and it's okay if you disagree, but this is just a really bad precon. For my taste, I like Kardur Doomscourge for the forced combat theme, because at least it has an ability that can lead to a win. That being said though, I still had to figure out how I wanted to upgrade this mess. On one hand, Boros colors are notoriously good at creature token themes, but I didn't want to make yet another Boros token precon upgrade guide. On the other hand, I could lean more heavily into the forced combat theme with these colors just to have something a little different from the norm, so that's what I decided to do. So with that in mind, let's get to the guide, starting with what I would take out. I would remove Exotic Orchard, Temple of Triumph, Temple of the False God, Ancient Stone Idol, Keeper of the Accord, Darien King of Keldor, Angel of the Ruins, Atali Primal Storm, Feather Radiant Arbiter, Gideon's Sacrifice, Mob Verdict, Prisoner's Dilemma, Hot Pursuit, Ransom Note, Tomb of Legends, and Elspeth's Son's Champion. That's 16 cards in total that I have recommended removing. Some of them are token creators, but a lot of them were just overcosted for what they do, or just felt more like filler than a way to advance any of the themes that the deck was going for. I left a couple of the lands that create tokens in because they don't hurt you, and will give you repeatable ways to create blockers at minimum, so I feel that removing them would be a waste. So, that's what I'd remove, but what would I add back in? Let's take a look. I'll start by recommending one land that will bring the total land count back to 35, simply called Hall. This land was only available in the Clue Edition box set, and I chose this for two reasons. The first reason is it replaces the crappy Temple for mana fixing. Even though it enters tapped just like the Temple, it's better in my opinion because the second ability that creates clue tokens gives you a repeatable way to draw cards, which is much better than a single scry on entering play. The next 8 cards I'm about to suggest will be creatures. All of them will reinforce the forced combat theme in some type of way. I'll start this section off by recommending Grenzo Havoc Razor. This creature actually helps in two ways. It turns all of your creatures into either ways to goad opposing creatures or as a way to gain access to more spells in your library. The second creature I'll recommend is called Bothersome Quasit. Not only does it goad, but it also creates situations where combat for your opponents could get very tricky. The third creature is called Komenu Battle Armor. This helps goad, of course, but it also buffs other creatures if it's needed as an equipment. This is one of those equipments that is unique because it's both a creature and an equipment that can switch back and forth between the two. I'm not sure if that helps any more than if it was just one, but it can't hurt. The fourth creature is called Alexios Deimos of Cosmos. Yeah, I probably screwed that name up. This is an unusual creature to say the least. You just basically pass it around the board and it just keeps growing until it's finally removed somehow. This card would have been way more fun if it had built-in indestructibility though. The fifth creature that I'll recommend is called Baloth Baratil Entertainer. A static goading ability? That's a new one for me. The only thing that could have made this better was if it was an enchantment. The treasure tokens it can create are a nice little bonus as well. The sixth creature that I'll recommend adding is called Geode Rager. This is one that I'm surprised wasn't already included in the box. I mean, it's been in precons before that weren't about forced combat, so why not put it in this one? Oh, and before it's said, I know that it was in the Carder precon, but it was also in two others that had absolutely nothing to do with forced combat, which is my point. The seventh creature that I'll recommend is called Nil's Discipline Enforcer. This is more of a pillow fort card, but it does tie well into the forced combat theme as well. Purposely buffing creatures that are goated or will become goated was just too funny not to include. And the eighth and final creature that I'll recommend for this guide is called Combat Calligrapher. While there's no forced combat abilities on the card, it does lead to a sort of forced combat and a sort of pillow fort scenario. You can't force people to attack others with the inklings that it creates without outside help, but luckily the rest of this deck is set up to do just that. Next, I have two sorceries that I want to recommend. First is a sorcery called Taunt from the Rampart. There's not really much to say here. It goads all of your opponent's creatures, and they all can't block. This card, for the most part, has the potential to act just like how green uses overrun effects to win the game. The other sorcery is called Farewell. I feel like that this deck needed more removal, and this is one of the better ones to use. The lone enchantment that I'll recommend adding is called The Sound of Drums. Technically, the only reason that I'm recommending this is because you can get it back. If it didn't have that ability, I wouldn't even look twice at it. Now, before I go over the combo that I would add, I want to show you two artifacts that have nothing to do with the forced combat theme, but are purely for some much needed utility. The first artifact is called Sword of the Animist. Technically, I could recommend this for every commander deck. This card helps provide one creature with a small static buff, deck thinning, and mana fixing all in one card. What deck couldn't use all of that? And the other artifact that I'll recommend adding is called Mind's Eye. For some reason, they included Reliquary Tower and Thought Vessel in the box, but not too many good ways to repeatedly draw cards to take advantage of those effects that they provided. So I figured I would add a way to get some much needed repeatable card draw in. This is not a heuristic study by any stretch of the imagination, but it does have the potential to draw you a lot of cards once it hits the table. And finally, the last section for this guide will be the combo that I'll recommend for the deck. The combo uses Brash Taunter, which came in the box, and the final card that I'll recommend adding to the deck, called Blazing Sunsteel. Together, these two cards can result in infinite damage. Sadly, it cannot result in anything else, but what else do you actually need it to do, right? Rather than try to stumble through an explanation of exactly how this works, just go to the link that just popped up at the top of your screen right now, and it will take you to a written out explanation of how these two work together. And there you have it, folks, my upgrade guide for the Murders at Karlov Manor Blame Game Commander Precon. While everything that I just showed you will not make this Precon a top tier deck, it should help make this deck more fun and chaotic to play. Like I said earlier, this deck just doesn't seem very good out of the box, so hopefully the suggestions that I just went over will help salvage this pile at least a little bit. Forced combat can be fun if you like the chaos, but this was not my favorite version of this theme. What do you think? Do you agree with me that Carder seems to be the better colors and commander choice for this theme? Let me know in the comments. Well, folks, that's all I've got for you this week. Thanks for watching, and if you're looking for more Magic content to watch, please go browse my playlist, as I'm sure you'll find more of my videos that you'll enjoy. Before you go, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when I release new content, which is usually every Friday. Have a nice day, and I'll see you all later.